This is Tuesday, June 12th. There are 36 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2018. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go.
Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple.
Good evening. I am your host, James Riley. Joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us.
And our special guest today is from IO9, Germain Lussier.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be back. Another year talking movies, talking Comic-Con, talking Hall H, talking my cat that's staring at me creepily.
There's plenty of pets on this podcast. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
let's get to your comments and questions. They're going to be at the end of the show. So if you have them, send them in. Tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtag SDConCast. We'll also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you want to comment there. So if you have any questions for Germain about movies or art or anything else, let us know.
Absolutely.
And with that, let's just get right into it, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the big news this year is that Marvel is not going to be at Comic-Con this year.
Right.
The reason
they won't be in Hall H. Let's clarify.
Right. That's important distinction to make as I go through all of this. I'm pretty much looking at Hall H panels.
Yes.
Because Marvel will have a booth and they'll give out their posters probably, and they'll have an Infinity Gauntlet or whatever. But yeah, I'm talking Hall H panels because that's always the big panel for most of us. Is Saturday night in Hall H, Marvel, and they're not coming this year for a couple of reasons. The main one being the Ant-Man will be in theaters. Captain Marvel will be done shooting. It finishes on July 6th filming. But they could show stuff from that, but that's the only thing. And I don't think they want to talk anything before Avengers 4. Everybody I'm sure has watched this, has seen Infinity War. Knowing anything that happens between that and Avengers 4 is kind of spoilery. So I think they want to avoid it and maybe come back next year with a bang and really hit us with the Phase 4 stuff. So we'll have to see on that. So no Marvel. So what is left? Well, and no Disney either, from what I'm hearing. Obviously, no Star Wars. There's not a Star Wars movie coming out for another year and a half, so no reason for that to happen. And so if anybody wants big Star Wars news, don't hold your breath. That's not going to happen. And Disney definitely has a lot of movies coming, but I do not think they're going to be doing anything from what I've heard. So take Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and that's gone. Warner Brothers will definitely be there as usual. They're always second fiddle almost to Marvel as they start the day and Marvel ends the day, but no Marvel this year. So is Warner Brothers going to bring the house down? Yes, but they're going to show. I don't know. They have a lot of big things. I think we'll definitely get some more DC news, and I am done asking if they're going to dump us with the greatest news thing ever. It's over. I'm never ever going to say Warner Brothers is going to do it this year, because they never do it. They always give you these titles and you're like, oh my god, Flashpoint, and don't mention it for years. So I think we'll probably get some of that this year, but we can go back through some of the other stuff they're going to do. But I would definitely see they'll do some of the stuff that's coming out soon, like the Meg and Mowgli, Fantastic Beasts. And then we'll definitely see. That'll probably be where we get the first or maybe a second Aquaman trailer by that point. Shazam is finished shooting, so we'll probably get some for that. And then maybe they'll talk about the Godzilla universe, because they sort of kicked that off at Comic-Con, and that second movie doesn't come out till next summer, but it's kind of got a home at Comic-Con. I'm hearing that Sony will definitely have a presence.
And in fact, we do know Sony is doing a Ghostbusters virtual reality thing out at the Petco Interactive Zone. So we did know that Sony would be there at least in some form. So that's not shocking.
Yeah, no, they will not be announcing a Ghostbusters sequel in their panel, but they will. I think focus will be Venom for obvious reasons. Big comic book movie, a lot of questions. They'll have a 7,000 person captive audience sort of try to sell that with. I think they'll also pepper in some Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. And after that, they have a couple things that they could do. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some screenings of Searching, which is the John Cho movie. We might get some first things from like Holmes and Watson, which is the Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, Sherlock Holmes comedy, which seems like a pretty good fit for Comic-Con. You bring those two guys out, it would be crazy. I think the only thing I know for sure they're doing is Venom. So we'll see what happens there. I've heard that Paramount is most likely going to be back this year, and they're mostly going to focus on Bumblebee. They have a couple other things they could probably touch upon, but I think it's going to be pretty heavy on Bumblebee because, again, it's a movie that's a few months out. We already sort of seen a little bit of it, but they could really hit us with a lot of good stuff and sell people.
That's a really smart move because that movie actually looks good compared to all the other Transformers movies.
It does, and I think people are already kind of excited about it cautiously after the last couple terrible Transformers movies.
I'm cautiously optimistic, and it looked really good. I was really surprised with the trailer.
Oh, agreed. And Travis Knight, who directed it, is awesome. He's a very Comic-Con friendly guy. Leica's had a lot of panels there in Hall H, and he sort of ran Leica, directed Kubo, and those things like that. So I think we're going to see like a Bumblebee panel. Whether that'll touch on anything else, Paramount, I'm not really sure. Fox, I never can talk to anybody about what Fox is going to do. Last year, they had a lot of great things they could have done, and they just talked about Kingsman. This year, again, they have a lot of cool things they could do, but we'll see. I think we'll definitely get some Predator stuff if they come. I'd assume they come. I don't know for sure, but I'd guess it. I think they'll definitely, if they do, lean heavy into Alita Battle Angel, which is a movie, again, that sort of fits this Venom Bumblebee thing of we've seen trailers, we don't know what to think of it. Is it good? Is it going to be bad? I mean, you bring out, Robert Rodriguez, James Cameron, Mahershala Ali, that's got, Jennifer Connelly. You bring out great people for that. And then, of course, there's always the X-Men movies. What Dark Phoenix is done shooting, save for some reshoots maybe. New Mutants is who knows what's going on. They have footage from these movies, and they could definitely do something. I don't know if they will because they're under such a microscope that if they do anything, you have to be very, very sure of it. And obviously, they are not sure about it at this time. Universal, I don't know exactly. I think, though, if Universal shows up, it might be a Blumhouse heavy type thing. They have Halloween coming out in October, which I'm almost sure is going to have a big presence, and maybe even its own panel. But if Blumhouse is there for Halloween, which is obviously very exciting, they also have Glass coming out a few months after that, which they showed footage of at CinemaCon 2 months ago. And if they showed that footage at Comic-Con, it would blow the roof off the place. It was so good. So I would love to see that. I didn't get confirmation on that. Plus, I mean, you could bring up Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson. I think M. Night Shyamalan knows that that's the audience that he wants to covet for these movies. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see that, but I haven't heard anything definitive, just more about Halloween. And then Universal, if it's not just Blumhouse, they have a lot of interesting things they could do, especially like Mortal Engines, the Peter Jackson produced YA adaptation again. And this is one of these later in the year movies that we don't know much about, but we've seen trailers and are kind of curious. They have The Clock on the Walls, which is an Amblin movie. They have The Grinch. They have How to Train Your Dragon. There's a lot of things they could do, but I think it might just be sort of Blumhouse. And after that, there's all the smaller studios, of which I haven't heard anything definitive. I haven't heard anything about Lionsgate. I heard STX would not be there. They could totally do the Happy Time murders, which would probably be awesome. Though it might be a little too R-rated for Comic-Con. But I think if I was Lionsgate, I'd try to be there, especially without Marvel. You have this opening of what's going to be maybe 1, 2. And you have, not only do you have this big sci-fi movie end of August called Kin, which has James Franco in it, but still is like something else. They have Hellboy coming out early next year. They have the Robin Hood movie. And you have John Wick 3, which will be probably close to done shooting by then, which again is next summer. But if you had a panel and showed a little trailer, it'd be crazy. But I haven't heard anything about that, if that's actually going to happen or not. So yeah, that's sort of my big info dump to start this thing off. Anything you guys stand out there that you're particularly excited, interested in?
I mean, to me, the biggest takeaway here from what you just said is, even though obviously Marvel won't be there this year, it sounds like a couple of studios who haven't been in a couple of years will actually be coming back. Like, I think Sony's missed the last 3 years, Paramount's missed a couple. So I think that to me is actually pretty big news in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it opens up a thing, and it really just comes down to timing. If Marvel had movies, they'd be there. You know,
Yeah.
And Sony and Paramount have big geek movies that they can, you know, spend some dollars on at Comic-Con. And again, like, you know, this is all stuff I'm hearing. I'm not 100% on any of it.
Right.
I'm like Sony and Paramount, and I'm probably like 85% sure. And then they still, like, they can pull out at any minute. A lot of these people, they don't really like lock everything in until probably like the early July. So everybody take this a little bit with a grain of salt, but yeah. So, I mean, personally, like I said, I really hope fans get to see the Glass stuff, because as a big Unbreakable fan and a big fan of Split, the trailers that they showed at Comic-Con is really mind blowing, just because it's not what you expect at all. And I think that kind of smaller movie, just like you spend the money to bring it to Comic-Con, can really get a big buzz going.
Absolutely. I did want to mention, we talked a little bit about Fox and all of that. The only thing that we've heard so far is, I do know one of the actors from The Darkest Minds said that he would be there, but that could obviously be like an autograph signing or something else, like, because that comes out pretty close to the convention. Yeah,
that's always the thing. Like, but that also is a movie it's basically X-Men, you know. Yeah. So that would make sense. Yeah. Fox is just really hard to put a thing on. Like, they've already shot like 4 months of Avatar, so like that has to come out for 2.5 years, but they could show something and they won't, you know. But yeah, I was disappointed in them last year, because Kingsman was great, and that was a fun panel where they faked that Halle Berry, you know, drank all that whiskey. But yeah, I mean, they're the one that I'm still holding out hope. Or with Warner Brothers, you know what, you kind of know what you're gonna get. It's going to be a fun panel, a little bit of news, a lot of pizzazz. But Fox, they could really do something. I always say it. I'm like, this is your year. Bring out the X-Men. Bring out this. I mean, last year I didn't even mention Deadpool. How did they not do that? I mean, obviously it did fairly well. But, like, yeah, I think they could maybe ease some people's minds about these upcoming X-Men movies, which, again, are months and months away. But still, it's the only Comic-Con before them.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about Warner Brothers, some stuff you didn't mention. Teen Titans Go to the Movies comes out like right after Comic-Con. I feel like they have to do a screening for that, don't you?
That would make sense for sure. I mean, it checks every single box. But I mean, I feel like maybe it's just because I don't get to go to them anymore. Have the screenings sort of dialed down in the last couple of years? They kind of have, right?
I feel like there's still quite a few, actually.
All right. I guess I'm not really sure, but yeah, that would
they just don't do the major screenings like Captain America and Scott Pilgrim, or you know, things like that. They don't do them in conjunction with a massive Hall H panel anymore, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just handing them out like on the convention floor, on the street, and just filling up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, Lionsgate gives them away at their booth a lot of times. Some of them do like the pre-sign up stuff, that stuff. One Warner Brothers movie you didn't mention is the Lego Movie 2. Yeah. And since basically every Lego movie incarnation has been in Hall H, do we think we'll see that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Warner Brothers has a 2.5 hour panel, it'd be crazy not to mention it, especially now that the marketing started. We got the poster and trailer last week. Yeah, I would think for sure. I mean, like, I mean, I think we'll also get the Nun, and if they do, like, didn't that last year they do like a horror section where they talked about it or something else, or maybe I'm thinking of another panel. But they have the Nun, and they also have It Chapter 2 will be shooting by then. Which, I mean, that's not a big FX movie. I don't think they'll show anything, but they could easily show a quick little tease of, you know, the Losers Club grown up. That'll all be ready to go. I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, they really have the most movies that they could do. It's crazy.
They really do. Yeah.
Even if they did Godzilla King of the Monsters, they could easily hint at Godzilla versus King Kong, which doesn't come out till 2020, but Adam Wingard's been working on it already. I mean, he could come out and be like, "Hey guys, it's coming soon," and that's it. Show us a logo.
That's all they did for Godzilla when they first announced it.
Yeah. Or they'll just show the logo and they're like, pre-roll at the beginning and then never talking about it again, like they did with Flashpoint and Green Lantern and Thor and all these things.
Well, speaking of Flashpoint and them never really doing much, I mean, is DC Entertainment and Warner Brothers, are they essentially just like reevaluating the entire DC slate of films at this point?
Slowly but surely. I mean, they have like 4 or 5 things that are kind of locked in, right? So Aquaman is coming, Shazam is coming, Wonder Woman 2 is coming. After that, there's like 4 or 5 that are very, very close to probably going. And then after that, there's probably like literally 20 movies that the people have worked on that maybe could happen and maybe could not. I think last count, there was at least 24 movies that have been talked about when it comes to DC. But yeah, after Justice League, it sort of just all got put on a table and said, well, we can't do anything about Aquaman, but then I think Shazam is probably the first one that they sort of started after Justice League with the sort of new mindset. And I think, like I said, I think that'll be a big one to shine as they show some stuff at Comic-Con. And they don't need to do Wonder Woman 2, but it will have been shooting for about a month and a half at that point. And they don't have to show anything, but if they brought Gal out, I mean, the place would go crazy. Yeah, and I don't think until those, at least the first 2 movies come out, Aquaman and Shazam, I don't think we'll really know what everything else is going to be. I mean, it's like people are like worried about what the 2020 Star Wars movie is going to be, and I think they have a lot of things on the table. They're just not ready to move forward yet. And I think DC is the same way, where they have a lot of dominoes ready to tumble over. They just haven't pushed them yet. And I think Aquaman comes out. Once that comes out or starts testing and they have a better sense of what that movie is, they will maybe move forward with either whatever, Suicide Squad 2 or one of these Joker movies or a Harley Quinn movie, all these things that are like probably very, very close to happening. So yeah, and we might get some news of that, at Comic-Con. It would be really cool if Jeff Johns came out or with, Toby Emmerich or whoever else and we're like, hey, and did their their El Capitan Marvel thing, but I just don't really see that happening with them. Everything is still so in flux.
So in addition to the way that you said it's all in flux, on the business side of things, how does a studio determine what they're bringing to Comic-Con? I mean, obviously, movies, one of the main factors I'm going to guess is when it's coming out. But what are some of the other factors they may decide? When like you said, they sometimes announce something that's 2 years away and bring something out about that. How do they kind of decide? Or what do you think is in their mindset when they're getting through to those?
Yeah, I think it's how confident they are in what they have to show. I think when Marvel is like 2 weeks into shooting Guardians of the Galaxy and they show you a full trailer, you're like, oh wow, like they're confident in this, but DC on the other hand, they're like, we think we want to do Flashpoint, so let's just tease it, and let's not bring out anybody. It really comes down to just, and like I keep coming back to Suicide Squad, where they gave us like a full trailer like a year out, which was crazy, because that never happened, and they put it online too. It wasn't even like an in the room thing, though I think it might have been because it got leaked, but still. Yeah, it really comes down to, like you said, what it think's going to resonate with that audience, talent that they can get. It's very expensive. Think about how hard it is for us to get hotels and travel to Comic-Con. Imagine having to get, The Rock and his like 15 people down there and rooms and food and everything. Like, it's very expensive and very difficult logistically. So they have to figure all that out. And so, like, they might say, oh, we want to do something with Mowgli, but we can only get Andy Serkis. Is that going to be enough? Well, we can't get Christian Bale and Cate Blanchett. No, so they might not do something like that. They will for that movie. Just looking at my list here for an example. So that's another big thing is logistics versus money. And then, and like I said, just kind of confidence and like they know once they show it at Comic-Con, that's it. Like if the conversation has begun or is going to shift to where it's going to be. Like there's no real changing the conversation after Comic-Con. Comic-Con is where you change the conversation. So you have to know what you're going to present and how it's going to play. And if it doesn't play like that, that's fine. But you really have to sort of know, okay, I'm going to show this, 90-second clip of 300. Like we think they're going to like it and it works, or, you show something else and it doesn't. So like I said, it's a lot of different things. And the one that people probably don't think about most is the logistics of it. Because like they have a lot more money to spend than we do. At the same time, it's very difficult to coordinate all that.
So, talking about all that, what we haven't talked about is the box office and the repercussions of past movies. Where back in a few years ago, when Scott Pilgrim was like the king of Comic-Con for the year, but then bombed at the box office. Does that play into studios, or do they just assume that it just didn't reach that particular market to get more box office, but it did well at Comic-Con? So again, it's about controlling the conversation, not so much about the box office.
Well, I think the box office is where they want to see the returns, though. So I think Scott Pilgrim is the number one example. The number two example is Snakes on a Plane, where like a couple years before that, it was like the greatest thing of all time, and then it bombed, and they were like, wait, but it did great at Comic-Con. And I think we saw that shift in the last like 3 or 4 years. Carrie talked about it, how, a lot of studios stopped coming because it really wasn't, they didn't see a real return on investment there. So I think that's what it really does come down to that. And I think maybe now it's shifting a little bit. But if they bring Battle Angel Alita or Alita Battle Angel, and it gets really good buzz and then it bombs, they're not going to blame Comic-Con, but they're going to look at it as a misstep. Like, how much should we spend there? Was it worth it? I think that's a very, very big consideration. It's just a hard one to really quantify so early from movies.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see. I mean, I know Comic-Con is expensive, but I think in the grand scheme of especially a major studio budget for advertising for one of their movies, I can't see it being enough of a hit to the budget to really be, like a real deciding factor.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, but I think I actually should look into this at some point. But I've heard that it costs like $1 million maybe for like a studio to get a panel, and that's I think that might just be reserving the time, or maybe
it's not just reserving the time. Like the screens that are in there, like the studios have to they pay for those. Yeah.
Right. So there you go. And then like that in the travel for if Warner Brothers brings 15 movies. And there's 3 people for each one, and like I said, the travel on those, and they don't travel first, they don't travel coach. You know what I mean? So that can all add up. And yeah, and even if you're looking at, let's say, on a massive scale, that you're looking at $3 million for that panel, that's not a lot when you look at it. Probably costs $3 million for a Super Bowl TV spot, but that Super Bowl TV spot's going to 40 million people, and it's going to 7,000. So right. I think you also have to look at that, the amount of money that it costs. But again, that 7,000 goes out to all the blogs, and they're kind of the people who are talking about it. So it doesn't just reach, that amount of people. But it's something to look at in the next year. I mean, we can talk about it more next year and see sort of if the movies that come this year really see a bump from it. I can't think of anything last year that really stood out at all, and that people like walked out of being like, oh, I hadn't heard about that, and I'm excited about it. I mean, I think we sort of heard of everything that we saw last year, and the stuff that did well was going to do well. Like Infinity War, didn't get a Comic-Con bump. That just was Infinity War.
Yeah, there are some movies that it doesn't matter whether they show up or not.
Right. And then it's a gamble. I mean, like I said, for a small movie, so like if Lionsgate brings Hellboy, yeah, Hellboy is definitely a Comic-Con movie, but are they confident in it? Like, if they show footage and it doesn't look good, that's it. It's not going to come back because my mom is going to go see Hellboy, but everybody can go see Hellboy if we didn't see it at Hall H. You know what I mean? Like, if we had to wait to see the verdict in the theater, I don't know. Again, it's a small percentage, but it's still an influential percentage. So it's a gamble too. You have to. It's a lot of that is confidence, and it's the marketing teams and publicity teams and the executives being like, no, we know this is a big thing. Like an interview came out today about the executives talking about how much they love what James Wan's doing with Aquaman, which is great, but like it was just weird to read executives touting their own movie. Like, what else are they going to say? But if they're saying that behind the scenes, like if they felt like maybe they didn't need an article, then that's when you have to feel good about something. But when you read an article like that, it feels like, well, that feels like a very, very typically placed thing to try to steer the conversation.
Do you think that Marvel saying, hey, we're not going to Hall H influences any of the other studios to actually go then? Because then they can have a little bit more of, when Marvel goes, they are the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think maybe, but at the same time, I think on a list of 10 things, that would be number 10 for a lot of the studios. Like, I think if Sony does bring Venom, they were going to bring it either way, but yeah, they're probably a little bit, when they know that they don't have to deal with that on Saturday night, the juggernaut of press and buzz, they definitely are going to have a little bit more room to breathe. That's actually what I'm most interested in. Like, what gets that slot? Does Warner Brothers move? Does like Fox take it? Does like Westworld, the Game of Thrones take it? Something like that? Who knows? Like I'm really, as long as it's not Fear the Walking Dead, I'll be
I mean, no, Germain, you should be rooting for Fear the Walking Dead to be in that slot because then you could leave beforehand and miss nothing.
That's actually a great point. That is actually a great point. Exactly.
So you should totally be rooting for it. Yes.
More titles in there that I can not cover and like do cool stuff at Comic-Con, I'd be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, basically assume that Fox is going to take it with their, if they bring any Marvel movies, correct? Because it's essentially going to be still a Marvel slot.
Yeah, if they bring the Marvel movies. Like I said, I'm not sure about Fox at all. They usually come, so I think they'll probably come again. But even like if they don't bring the Marvel movies, Alita Battle Angel and Predator with Shane Black is a very cool Comic-Con-y thing. I mean, I haven't loved the footage I've seen. So it could use the help, I think. And that comes out in like September, October. They have, the El Royale movie that I'm blanking on the full title of. There's a lot of big stars in it that they can bring Chris Hemsworth out and everybody go crazy. Yeah, they definitely have a lot of like possibilities. So it would make sense for them. But also, if I'm Warner Brothers, I might even try to sneak it. Like you always are used to them in the morning, but no. If Warner Brothers and Marvel flipped spots, it would be very, very drastic. I think the conversations changing, walking out on a Saturday night, because Warner Brothers puts on. I don't know if they have shown the same amount of stuff, but they put on a much better presentation. Marvel just does these Kevin Feige to say a bunch of awesome things, and then it steals all the headlines. But if Kevin Feige did that 7 hours earlier, and then we had to sit through all these other things, the fact that we saw Infinity War footage wouldn't be as exciting, when we're watching like Ready Player One. Like we're already done with that. We've mentally processed it. Marvel has that spot, and that's the last thing we think of. It's why they release movies in December that want to win Oscars, because that's the things you think about. So if I were Warner Brothers, if I was a marketing person for Warner Brothers, I would try to get that late night spot. Then again, so it'll be interesting. I'll be excited to see what happens there.
Do either of you remember who took it in, I think, 2014 when Marvel skipped? Was it Fox?
Pretty sure it was.
I think that yeah. What would they show that panel?
I think that was the year they brought like 18 cast members of X-Men.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. That was actually good. They should do that again.
Jermaine. All right. I want to talk about TV, but first let's get into some of the questions from the chat. Starting with Andy asked, if Blumhouse goes, any chance Unfriended 2 might have a presence there?
If Blumhouse has its own panel, they'll milk it for all it's worth. But I think they have a lot riding on Halloween. And I think if they do it, I think it would be Halloween heavy. But if it's a Blumhouse panel instead of a Universal panel or a Halloween panel, yeah, sure, why not? I think you tout out some of their smaller movies. They could do Happy Death Day 2 or whatever if they wanted to. Who knows? Yeah.
All right. Any other questions that you see, James?
I did not.
Promoting this all day, and my people show up. Come on, guys.
No. You see, you've already answered.
I'm not crapping on that. I'm crapping on the terrible.
All right. Well, like I said, I want to talk TV because this is basically, I know this is kind of the movies podcast, but it's also really the Hall H podcast. Yeah. And what do you think we'll see in Hall H as far as TV goes this year, beyond Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, because it's always there? Do you think Netflix will be back? What do you think?
To be fair, I haven't given this any thought until this moment.
Yeah,
but
I'm just throwing you on.
No, it's all right. But I think we're going to see a lot of the same things. I'm trying to think. There's been any show this year that broke out that could take a spot. Stranger Things will only be shooting, so there would be no reason for them to be back. You could maybe do like not Castle Rock. But I think we'll definitely get Game of Thrones. We'll definitely get Westworld and Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. And maybe they're smart that move like the Rick and Morty panel into there because everybody always gets mad at the Indigo Ballroom. They can't get in. They should definitely do stuff like that. But and on Sunday we'll get our Supernatural panel and we'll get all these things. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head like new show wise, like that would ruin it.
I bet we get Mayans MC, considering Sons of Anarchy was always in there on Sunday.
Yeah, if
I bet
FX,
we get that.
I mean, wouldn't it be cool to have like an Atlanta panel? That won't happen. But
that would be amazing. But yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because while our last 2 years it was definitely more TV heavy, and we'll definitely get a lot of TV this year. If you bring back like Sony and Paramount, like it sort of gets a little more even. It sort of evens the field a little bit, especially like you said. No Stranger Things most likely. Though they could just come out and talk about season 2, and like there's no people would show up to that in droves.
People do that with Game of Thrones every year, so yeah.
Right, exactly. Though Game of Thrones, they've been shooting this season, so I would be very surprised if we have something cool to show us for that. Plus, they could also talk about
they would come. For years, though, they would come and basically just do like a victory lap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right. Last year was the first year they didn't. That the timing was off, and this year it's even more off.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they will definitely come, but they don't. I don't know if the next season starts until after next year's Comic-Con, or like it'll be on during Comic-Con like last year. So they probably technically don't have to come, but I'm sure they'll come. I wonder if HBO could bring like new Watchmen there. It's still a pilot. No, I'm just talking off the top of my head.
That's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay. All right. Anything else we think? What about Chaos walking from Lionsgate? Do you think that has a possibility if they do actually do a panel?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely if they do a panel, they're gonna try out everything that's genre, and that would definitely be part of it. And like I said, if I was Lionsgate, I would be. I think you have a shot at doing some stuff there.
We can hope, because they haven't had a panel in Hall H either for a couple years.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I actually have another stupid business question.
Sure.
Been interested. It's one of the things that I've wondered about when you mentioned getting the actors to the con. How do you think the studios work when there's an actor they're going to be there for 2 different movies? Does one studio wait until the other studio says they're bringing them and then like jump in and add their panel, or do they just like add the actor if they happen to be being brought by another, but they're going to do the panel anyway? I mean, do you think the fact that some studio brings an actor helps influence the decision for another studio if the actor's in another of their movies?
Well, I think whoever pays gets first dibs, right? So like whoever pays, actor X to come, they are the one. They're going to do a signing for that. They're going to appear at the screening for that, the panel for that, and then if it's in the schedule to show for the other movie, they'll do that. But that would be like an agent or a manager thing. It really comes down to who's footing the bill. So I think that's probably a conversation that happens, and I'm sure there's some screaming matches behind the scenes with people in suits who work in Central City. But I think it's an interesting question. It's the more I think about it, it'd be really fun to explore that kind of the business side of behind the scenes of Comic-Con. Just such a small audience, Maybe I spend a lot of time and get like 15 people read the article. Like, what are you doing?
We would read it.
I know you guys would. I know you guys, and you would share it, and it would be very nice.
What are you personally hoping comes to the convention? Like, what would make you really excited this year?
Well, I already mentioned Glass, just because I'm a super duper fan of that. I'm hoping to get more excited about Fantastic Beasts, because I love Harry Potter, but and I think the next trailer is cool, but I really just can't get excited for that. And I kind of also want to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse win the whole thing. It just looks so awesome and different, and like that, it's just so perfect for Comic-Con. For obviously, it's freaking Spider-Man, but like, I think that would just be if they revealed some really cool secrets from that. I've heard there's a lot of cool cameos and this and that in their movie. I think if you gave us a lot of cool news out of that, that could be like a breakout. And I think it's already getting a lot of buzz and really building. And I think that would just be the volcano that explodes. I think that would be super cool. I would be really excited if Warner Brothers gave us a bunch of news. I don't foresee that happening. I see them touting all their movies, which we've talked about they have a ton of. And I always want to see the X-Men there, especially when now we're in this like weird space of what is New Mutants and how many reshoots are needed on Dark Phoenix and what is Dark Phoenix? Like we know that story, but what are you guys doing with it? And what cast are we using? And Deadpool just erased all your movies. Like what happens? Like there's so many questions. And then of course, Fox, though, I just thought about, there's also the pending Fox Disney deal. If that goes through, that changes everything. So they might be in that also, a similar kind of holding pattern that we talked about with DC, where it's like, well, we want to move forward on X-Force, and we want to move forward on a Fantastic Four reboot or something, but we got to wait to see what happens here. So that could influence them not showing as much stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, you just want to walk out on a buzz at the end of a night, right? And I think we got that a little bit last year with the Avengers stuff, and a couple years ago with Force Awakens and stuff. But yeah, I mean, and also I just want to see Lucas on the panel and just give us every movie that's coming out for the rest of the time. So that would be good.
Makes sense. I wanted to circle back to that the Fox merger, because the question I keep asking myself is, considering that Walt Disney Studios hasn't been to the convention since the first Wreck-It Ralph came out. Yeah. If the merger does go through, does that mean that Fox Studios will no longer be at Comic-Con?
Who knows? I mean, it's a good question.
I know.
It's because Disney has now, they have Star Wars Celebration, they have D23, but those are, not every year things. And does Fox still run separate, or does Fox go away? Like that's the thing. I think it's such a valuable name that you don't completely get rid of it. I think they probably adopt some of their things. Well, and the thing is also is that Disney isn't going to release many, if any, R-rated movies. But Disney's subsidiary Fox is still going to make Deadpool movies. They're still going to make Wolverine movies or whatever, violent things. So I think Fox would still come. I think Disney, if that happens, would understand that it's a different audience from the people who have annual passes and go to Trader Sam's. So I think they would still come, but it would be. I mean, it's one of the infinite questions if this deal actually happens. You'd be like, oh my god, what happens now? But it would also be a pretty badass Marvel panel if Kevin Feige's like, oh, we're making X-Men, and then like places just go crazy.
I have a question related to that. So we don't have any real news about upcoming Marvel movies except for the 3 or so that they've announced.
Yeah.
And is that really just because of the Avengers movies, or is the Fox merger playing into it and they're really not wanting to announce anything until they know whether or not they have a new sandbox to play in?
I think it's 80% Avengers 4, 20% Fox. They pretty much they could have announced stuff already before the Fox deal. I mean, the Fox deal is relatively new. It was like 6 months or something like that. I don't remember exactly when it first happened. But I think now it's playing a part in it. But I have a feeling that what we're going to do is We're gonna get Avengers. We're gonna have Captain Marvel. We're gonna get Avengers. We're gonna get Spider-Man. And then I think we get Guardians 3 is my guess.
Mhm.
And then, but I think in between there, they do either Comic-Con or at D23, one of their here's the next 4 years mega announcements, and that's when we get Black Panther 2 or there's a couple of the new properties that I'm forgetting. But I do think I honestly think they're trying to change the conversation in the direction of everything post Avengers 4. And I think if they said like, here's the next the next 2 years of movies, and there's no Captain America or Iron Man movies, it'd be kind of a spoiler. So wait, why isn't Robert Downey Jr. in any of these movies? Well, I'll tell you why. So I really do think it's to avoid Avenger 4 spoilers, 80%. And then I think when the Fox merger happened, they probably were like, well, let's just wait in case, because then that 2021 spot would be pretty sweet for Fantastic Four or to bring in Wolverine or whatever, or crossover Deadpool. I think it's definitely possible that it's part of it. But I think the bigger reason is, the Avengers 4 spoilers. I mean, there's no reason why we can't have the title now. We know what happens, but they just want to keep it tight-lipped. So, it's they're very good at what they do, and we can and us speculating about it is exactly what they want us to be doing.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We had a question. Mike Nelson asked in the chat, what about any independent genre movies? Hotel Artemis was awesome, but I don't remember seeing anything for it last year. Same for Annihilation. Would something like that ever get slid into Hall H?
Well, Annihilation was Paramount, so Paramount had a panel that could have done it. Hotel Artemis was it was a global road. There's always that possibility, right? I mean, we've seen that in the past with movies that just get their own little panel. And like you said, without Marvel, there's always that option that maybe that's going to happen. But it's hard to predict because the studio, again, has got to have the budget and be confident like it's going to be worth it for us to steal 30 minutes on a Friday afternoon in Hall H to be like, hey, look at this cool little movie. And most of those cool little movies are cool little movies, not because the idea isn't good, but because they have a little bit of money and it becomes very expensive. I mean, usually if that kind of thing does happen, it won't happen in Hall H. It would happen in upstairs somewhere. So definitely possible. It's a good question. It's happened in the past, and I'm always very interested when that happens to be like, what is this? Because these people must be confident, but it's very, very hard to predict. You never know.
We've had some of that. Like we had whatever that weird Salma Hayek movie was a couple years ago. Do you remember that, James?
Oh yeah. Name of the movie where she's the assassin.
Yeah.
Joe Lynch directed.
Funky. Yeah, but we definitely have had smaller movies. Yeah.
They did that horror drive-in or something a few years ago too, where they highlighted like 2 or 3 of the smaller independent movies.
Oh, that was like a Fandango panel. So they could do something like that. And there's definitely always, like, if you look at right now in theaters, Hereditary, if that movie was coming out in like a month, movie that kind of like genre-y movie that a lot of people can't get out to see or doesn't have the marketing. I mean, it's a gamble, but if you have a good movie, it could happen. So, yeah, again, with the opening of Marvel, there could definitely be 1 or 2 things that slot in. But we won't know for about a month now.
That's right. Little less than, actually.
Yeah, right, until the schedules.
Yeah, although when they announce them, it's always studio TBA.
Yes. So. But if you listen to this podcast, you will know what those TBAs will probably be if the studios come on.
That is correct.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we had any other questions.
I didn't see any.
All right. Well,
if people want to tweet me after this airs, if they watch it later, I can do my best as long as I don't have you muted, because I've been doing that a lot. Because
our man
fandom is so awesome these days. But if anybody has a legitimate Comic-Con question, I will be glad to answer it.
And where can they find you on Twitter?
Yeah, my Twitter is @Germain Lussier, one word. And I have the same thing on Instagram, and you can read my stuff on io9.com. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really love talking about this stuff. I say it every year, and you guys do amazing work on the site and the podcast. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Germain. Thank you so much for joining us. We love having you here.
Awesome. Me too. Have a great night, guys.
Yeah.
You too. Bye. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited that it sounds like we're actually going to get several studios at the convention. It's been a couple years since several of these have been there.
Nice having them come back. Show us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of also. Go ahead.
I think with the exception of Friday, maybe Saturday might be, take less than a day to get into this year.
I mean, that was the case back in 2014 when Marvel wasn't there. Like, you could get in with like an hour, 2 hour wait.
Yeah, we got in. In fact, was that the year that Deadpool was there? Was that year when Fox took over Saturday night? Because we got in with like a 3 hour wait in the middle of the afternoon. So we got in time for, I think, the Joss Whedon panel. Was there a Joss Whedon panel that year? But anyway, we got in before Fox, and we didn't.
Maybe. I think yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could get in without more than a few hours wait, which was amazing on a Saturday.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited by what he said. Like, I think it's great that Sony sounds like they'll be back. Paramount sounds like they'll be back.
And I agree that I really hope they bring Into the Spider-Verse because that trailer looks awesome.
It looks amazing. Well, considering they also like gave a little shout out to Comic-Con, like it needs to come.
Yeah, exactly.
This is your audience. Yeah.
A couple of reader questions we had that really didn't pertain as much from Jay Schomburg. We had, do we know if Sci-Fi Live from Comic-Con will be there with Mr. Levi?
It will not. Sci-Fi Live has gone away. I can answer that.
And then Joe Vanorny, do you think press will get access to autographs and exclusives like they did for WonderCon?
I don't know.
They have their official stance from Comic-Con is we have not made any determination on who is able to join any of these further exclusive things past the Mondo poster.
Comic-Con International is going to do what Comic-Con International wants. My suggestion, as it's been the same for the last like 2 weeks, is if you are unhappy with that decision, Comic-Con International has a little contact button on the bottom of their site. Go click it. That's my suggestion. Any chance that the WB superhero shows go back to another huge block panel one night in Hall H? Or do you think they will stick to their spread out panels in Ballroom 20?
I think they're going to keep up with the Ballroom 20.
That's what I think so too. I think it was a lot of money to do it in Hall H, and it was never like totally packed. And I mean, I know they've got a couple new things, but at the same time, like Gotham's ending, I think like they're just a little bit older.
Like the Supergirl panel was like at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it was late.
Like, or 10 o'clock, something like that. It was late. And it's like, if you've been in Hall H all day and you're sticking around for that, you're going to be like me and you're going to basically pass out in your chair. Right around 10:30 at night.
You are correct, because that was like the last time I went to Hall H was specifically for that panel, and it was late at night and we were like falling asleep.
I totally did. Like
it was also so freaking cold in there. Yeah, it was cold and dark.
And it's like, nope. Lots of nope.
Yeah, no, please don't show a screening at like 10 o'clock at night, please. Too old for that. Too tired. All right.
Any more questions? We'll get to them after the news or as they come up if they're relevant to what we're talking about. But let's get started on the news.
All right. So the biggest news, in my opinion, of the last week is that Nerd HQ, most unfortunately, will not be back at Comic-Con this year. And not only that, but Zach Levi said Nerd HQ probably won't be returning to San Diego ever again. That's pretty harsh language and pretty sad news. And I'm really disappointed because I mean, I've made no secret. I love Nerd HQ. It's my favorite offsite. A lot of years, it's literally my favorite thing at the convention, even though I know it's not actually at the convention. But yeah, bad news bears.
Yeah, it's like it's really sad. I mean,
It is really sad.
Was, and it was this kind of thing where, I mean, even if you didn't go and like make that your thing for the whole con, there, if you happen to be lucky enough to get one of the conversations, you always were able to hopefully work it in and go see a really cool panel in between all the other stuff you were doing at Comic-Con or off sites. So
absolutely.
I mean,
well, not only that, but like it was just such a cool place to hang out. Like I say every year, more off sites need sofas. Hi, we want to sit. That's what Comic-Con attendees really want. Yeah, all these people spend all this money. What would Comic-Con attendees be interested in? Sofas. Sofas is the answer. All right, sitting. But Nerd HQ was just awesome, and I loved the panels there. Like, you just don't get that across the street, because across the street, everybody is just trying to sell you something. And like, there's nothing really spontaneous that happens. Whereas like Nerd HQ, like anything could happen. It was just so good. I'm going to miss it. But hopefully it will pop up somewhere else. I'm rooting for Austin because that's a 6-hour drive for me. I mean, Zach lives there. Come on. It makes sense.
it does.
It does.
Or if they had to, you know, one of the Dallas shows, or maybe if you want to travel a little bit more, maybe C2E2.
There you go.
No.
I'd be okay with any of those. So
Emerald
I hope
City?
it does show up somewhere else, somewhere that's friendlier to them. I mean, it really is. It feels kind of like the end of an era, because for a while we had like all of these really cool offsites that had panels or interviews. Like there was Nerd HQ. Nerdish used to do those really awesome interviews over in Petco Park. They stopped doing that last year, 2 years ago.
Last year was they only did it for 2 years, and then last year they were gone.
Yeah, ConX obviously didn't return, but that was also because it was hotter than Hades that year.
Yeah.
And there was like no shade.
They were very far away.
Yes. Comic-Con HQ obviously didn't bring their interview style thing back last year. Like it just like all disappeared last year. And that's sad. So
yeah,
we'll just have to make do with Conan, I guess.
That's easy to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's get the things that will not be at Comic-Con out of the way. And we learned another of those today with Outlander. Outlander will be heading to New York Comic-Con in the fall for the first time, but they're doing that instead of San Diego Comic-Con, which I guess makes sense. The new season starts in November, so New York is obviously a whole lot closer to that, so it makes more sense to promote it there. But I'm really curious to see if that means that Stars just doesn't show up at all. They do have a couple things. They've got American Gods, which is currently in production, but it's not coming back until 2019. And Neil Gaiman already said he's not going to the convention this year. So that none of that bodes particularly well. But stranger things have happened. Yeah. Yeah. But that's why we're starting out with this, so we can get to the stuff that is coming.
Oh, you mean like all of the trolleys starting to show up?
So many trolleys.
I mean, it's like they just exploded into San Diego, and all of a sudden we have so many trolleys wrapped. And apparently they are wrapping more than ever this year with 40 different wraps.
Well,
40
it's
trolleys.
different. Right.
Something like that.
Yeah. I got asked this question. Yeah, I got asked this question last night. So they said they'll have a record-breaking 40+ trolley cars rollout. But to me, the fact that they said trolley cars means they'll have 40 cars wrapped, but a lot of them will probably have like the same design. But we already have like 10.
And so Sci-Fi is doing it's a fan-made thing. So they basically have a bunch of fan art for their shows on the trolleys, and those were the first ones we saw with things like Happy and Krypton and the Magicians. And then Winona Earp showed up, and Bob's Burgers, and let's see, what else do we have? We have
Simpsons.
Simpsons and Deadly Class. And of course, we have Family Guy, which was the most recent one just earlier.
And Night
today.
Flyers. And Night Flyers.
Night Flyers.
Which is the George R.R. Martin thing. That's not Game of Thrones.
I skipped right by that one. But yes, we're I mean, you would assume that there's going to be things like hopefully the Conan ones will be showing up like they have in past years. So we'll get to see all of the pops on the side of the trolley. And who knows what else we'll see? Maybe some other new shows.
I also wanted to mention, I mean, I think you can guess with probably like 95% accuracy that anything that's on a trolley will have a panel at Comic-Con. So basically anything that's on this trolley, you can guess that it's going to have a panel. In fact, we already know the cast of Deadly Class is going to be there. So yeah, that's what I got for you. Let's see here. It's you again.
Me again.
It's you again.
We're going to read our questions. What's going on here? Okay,
We can
so
do your questions.
we did a couple of. Oh wait, here we go. Let me go back, and we're right here. So Viz Media announced a week or two ago that My Hero Academia creator Kohei Hirikoshi was coming to Comic-Con, and they updated that with, well, there's going to be. Let me see here. There's
an exclusive. There's an exclusive.
An exclusive.
Yeah. So I'll just do this one since I know since I wrote it.
I can't read it.
That's fine. You do the questions here in a minute. Okay. So it was really big news the other week that Kohei Horikoshi is coming to the convention. He's the creator of My Hero Academia. And basically, Viz announced that this year to Comic-Con, they'll be bringing an exclusive edition of My Hero Academia Volume 1. And you can get your hands on it, including at the convention, or including even if you're not at the convention. They want you to create a little 30-second video talking about whatever your quirk is, and then they're going to pick 10 that they like, show them to Horikoshi. He'll pick his top 3, and then they'll show those on his panel, and then those 3 people will also get a signed copy of the exclusive. So there you go.
Very convoluted.
I explained it decently, though.
You did. It's just like, give the stuff away, people. Come on.
Look, they want you to go make a video, okay? That's what they want. That's it.
Kids these days.
You can win stuff.
Harumph.
Harumph. All right. What questions do we have, James?
Let's see. Let me see from Stephanie L. Did anyone ever do the sci-fi trivia car and karaoke bus last year? How hard was that to get onto? I have no idea.
I didn't hear anyone talk about that. But you know what's funny? I didn't hear anyone talk about Getting Married by Orlando Jones either. And then in our attendee of the week, we posted about like one person doing it. And suddenly like 20 people were like, oh, I did it too. He married me. So maybe like you've all done it and just I haven't seen. So. Yeah,
so maybe someone will answer us when they hear this.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Answer us when you hear this.
Maybe. All right.
And then we've discussed this before, a couple of questions about the lines and such for panels, especially with the autographs going through the online lottery now. And our basic answer has always been, it's not really going to make a huge effect on it because those people were done at 9 or 10 in the morning anyway. And so they were all going into the things at that time anyway. Plus, you know that there were people holding them spots in line after they were done with their drawing. So they would already be taking up that space. So
absolutely.
Minimal effect on any
line. Well, and I keep saying anyway, there were not that many people in that line, like comparatively. I mean, if you compare like that line to the Hall H line, like it's not the same. It's not going to like double the Hall H line now. So yeah, I just don't think anyone has anything to worry about.
And Nick asked about any expectations for the Hall H line system. And again, our answer on that is no, but we expect changes.
Yeah,
we just have to wait another few more weeks for them to announce what those changes are.
That is exactly what we've heard. Sergeant Finley asked, have you heard anything about Project Alpha and Nerdist hosting a party for this year? I have not, but that doesn't mean anything. But what I have heard is someone was speculating to Geek and Sundry when Nerd HQ announced they weren't going and being like, oh my God, is Geek and Sundry not going to? No, everything's canceling. And they were like, don't panic. Just stay tuned. So I think Geek and Sundry will absolutely be doing something again this year. I would very much guess that Nerdist will be doing something again this year. So it's just, we're early. And I know it doesn't necessarily feel that way. And I keep being asked, like, didn't we have more announcements by this time last year? And we didn't really. Like, it's just, there's so much stuff that is packed into like the last 3 weeks that it feels like it must be spread out over like 6 weeks, but it's not. No. It's just that awful for me.
Yeah, it just feels like weeks on end. And it's like, no, that was 3 days.
Yes, that is exactly what happens. So we're really like, we're right on time. In fact, before this podcast, James and I were talking about like how weird it is that like everything year after year, like everything just kind of like lines up almost exactly. So
random stuff that actually doesn't feel like it has a schedule always kind of just meshes into at the same time.
Yeah, it does.
Very weird. So Mike Nelson says he was asked to do the trivia party bike ride just by hanging out around the Children's Museum. So if they do something similar this year, basically hang out at wherever their headquarters, if they have a headquarters this year, is going to be.
And if where you hung out last year is probably a good bet, is my answer. Not that I know anything at all. All right. So James actually already mentioned this, but we know for sure now that Comic-Con is going to be doing the autograph systems through the online exclusives portal, because over the weekend, after the Mondo poster signups ended, they put up a message that said the random selection process will take place on around June 12th, blah, 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 blah. Comic-Con 2018 exclusive merchandise purchasing time slots and exclusive signings will be added at a later date. What I am curious about is that Comic-Con 2018 exclusive merchandise purchasing time slots. That can mean a couple of things. That could mean still that Comic-Con is going to use this portal this year for just their exclusives, and you'll be signing up for a time slot to pick up like your t-shirts and other stuff that you would normally get through Comic-Con. Maybe they're going to make you pick a time or a day to do it this year, or maybe we are actually going to get Funko using the system or some of the others. But I don't know. Like, until
what's going to happen?
Until this point, I would have absolutely said, like, and I have said, I feel like if Comic-Con International was smart, they would use it for just the autographs and see how that goes. But the fact that they added that wording, like, definitely has me pausing now.
Right. I guess we'll find out fairly soon.
Sometime within the next 36 days.
Yeah. So we did a poll, one of our returning Friday Fun polls on Friday last week, and we asked the question, what do you think the banners are going to be downtown? Because it's getting close to time when they're going to go up. And the top 3 answers were: number 1, Captain Marvel; number 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet; and number 3, Something Not Disney. Which it hasn't been Something Not Disney since like 2012.
Real Steel.
Real Steel was the last non-Disney banner.
Yep.
So
that's been a while.
Probably going to be Disney, and it's probably going to be Captain Marvel and Ralph Breaks the Internet, because those make the most sense. Because last year with Thor and Black Panther, it was a November and a February movie, and that's what Ralph and Captain Marvel are. So
see, you're more convinced of Ralph than I am. Like, I know that it's in November and it makes total sense, but the fact that Walt Disney Studios like has not been literally since the first Wreck-It Ralph came out, I don't know. I just don't know that they'll do it.
Like, no other Marvel, and they always have 2.
They don't. Do they always have 2? I feel like we've had 1 before.
Pretty sure.
Who knows? Maybe it'll be Captain.
You know what? I'm going to say it very authoritatively, and therefore,
okay.
They have always had 2.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you.
It worked.
All right, so we will see what happens.
Yes. So also, also, last week we put out an article. We actually talked to badge holders of different types, from creative professional to press to exhibitors to retailers, which, believe it or not, yes, I learned this last week. Exhibitors and retailers are two different badges. So if you want to check out that article on the website, and you can check and see, whether they have to pay for it, what the restrictions are, what they have to work for, all of those things. It's very good information, so you can see just what kind of badge someone has is getting them, and what kind of perks, which some of them do have perks, but not very many.
Yes.
Just FYI, not very many perks at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I know. I know. People keep asking me like what the perk of a press badge is, and I'm like, you get junk email.
Your free badge, man. That's a perk.
Yeah, I know it is.
That's it.
But that's
wait,
it.
We get that room with like chairs and tables that has. Now, if you're there early enough, you might have bagels and things. But every time I've gone in, all one time, hasn't had nothing. It's been like there was like a piece of lettuce in a bowl. Just like, thanks.
I have never been, so
the bowl is really big.
Get my piece of lettuce. That's funny. All right. In other news, the San Diego Symphony is bringing back their amazing John Williams concert, and that doesn't actually mean John Williams is there, but it's basically the symphony playing a whole bunch of his scores, like from Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, and of course, Star Wars. I went last year and loved it. It was actually the first time I'd ever been to a symphony, but it was amazing. Like half the show was Star Wars. They do a little pre-show before that has like a cosplay contest. There was an R2D2 roaming around. It was really fun. This year it's going to be on Wednesday night, which I'm a little bit bummed about. But tickets start at $30 and they go through $45, and they're on sale now, and you can go get them now.
Awesome. And I would be going if it wasn't during our party.
I know.
Or what may be our party if it's not just standing on grass with Dixie cups.
Yes.
So also announced in the last week was the Impractical Jokers Block Party will be returning. It's going to be at Petco Park on Saturday, July 21st. It will be free to attend. So if you have enjoyed that in the past, you can go again. Or if you want to check it out this year, put it on your schedule.
Woo. All right. We announced last night that Nerds Like Us and some other folks are doing a party called Ready Party 1. And it's basically like a tribute to Ready Player One. And they're going to have a band called, I just had it, the Flux Capacitors, which is basically like a Back to the Future tribute band playing. They're going to have a DeLorean there, Bill and Ted's time traveling phone booth for photo ops and gaming, and an interactive Gunter challenge. So tickets start at just $15, and the early bird, or not the early bird, but the VIP actually already sold out. So if you want to go grab your general admission tickets, they're $15 from now until July 1st. After that, they go up to $25. And then finally, we announced officially that our party is definitely coming back.
That was earlier. That was talking about the piece of grass with Dixie cup. That was me.
So okay, I'm going to talk about that.
Sliding a little, obfuscation on it there.
I'm going to talk about that too. But first, let's talk about Two Blog, Two Curious, Gaslamp Drift. And I hope you all love that title because it makes me smile every time. But we'll be back at McFadden's this year. We promise the karaoke will be much softer if it's there at all, which we're kind of hoping it's not. But it will be from 7 to 10 p.m. this year. And it's basically, we're doing like we did last year. It won't be the full blown out party. This is just like a really casual meetup thing. Stop by for like 10 minutes, grab a beer, talk to us. Like we're vaguely interesting human beings and we would love to talk to you guys. It's very casual, like I said.
Emphasis on the vaguely.
Yeah, a very strong emphasis on the vaguely. But you can talk to me and James and some of the other people on our staff if you can get them to socialize.
And Sergeant Finley is pointing out that last year at our party, the beers were $2.
That's right. $2 and potato skins too. Oh, and J.R. Wenzel asked, any chance for Gary photo ops? Yes. Last year, all of the prize mules and Gary were there and available for photo ops. So if you want to meet Gary, that's your chance. And we won't really have like a ton of prizes, but we'll definitely have buttons for everybody who attends. And NinjaBot is graciously donating some stickers that we will be giving out as well. So, in fact, they are donating one of their Comic-Con exclusive stickers. And I know which one, but I'm not going to tell you. So, all right, back to Dixie Cups of Water. We are officially going to change the name of this, mostly because I don't want to get sued. And instead, I know. So instead, okay, so if you don't know what in the world I'm talking about, for years now, as we look for a venue for our party, every year I say worst case scenario is that we will hold our party on a patch of lawn and James and I will hand out Dixie Cups of Water. Like, we will do something. That is worst case scenario. So this year, it will be totally random, but at some point, and maybe more than one point, James and I will be standing on a patch of grass handing out hashtag cup of water, SDCC, not cups, not plural. You don't get more than one.
No way.
You get a cup of water. One. So that's what I've got for you.
The best inside jokes are actually the inside jokes we have make the best stupid giveaways for Comic-Con. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like everything we do is a stupid inside joke. Like the prize mules guys, Gary. So I hope you guys are as amused as we are. James, yes, James Bender just said, "Oh Lord," so I'm not sure he is as amused as I am, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. All right. In other news, in like actual Comic-Con news, Patrick Ballesteros launched his "Can You Hear Me Now" series, which are these adorable little prints that basically you can have two prints. They're totally interchangeable, and on each side it'll be one friend holding a little tin can to their ear, so it's like they can communicate, and you could mix them up. So you can have like Wonder Woman talking to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, you can do whatever you want. They're really cool. He's going to have an Incredibles exclusive at the convention, and I love them.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
And I think he revealed today, because you noticed in that picture that if you were watching live, that there was a Yondu, and yes, there will be a Mary Poppins you can get as well. So.
They look pretty cool, yeah.
Also, Beast Kingdom announced some more of their exclusives. They have a Justice League Superman special color version. It's an 18.5-inch figure with 24 points of articulation, and it actually looks pretty cool. So they have a black costume version and a color version from Dawn of Justice. And they also have a Batman. Let me see what it says here. It's a Dynamic Action Heroes Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice color Batman. Also tall. 20 centimeters tall. So there you go.
That's right. Entertainment Earth started announcing their... Where's the echo coming from?
That's you. Like, what? Oops. I don't know. Possibly you.
I don't know either.
Just keep talking. Right. Talk a lot.
All right. Entertainment Earth. They started announcing their exclusives for this year. They started with a couple of wooden Pinmate sets, and we now have some Cereal Monster Geeky Tiki Mug 3-pack set today. And the Tiki mugs are my favorite thing that Entertainment Earth has ever announced. They're based on the General Mills cereal monsters, so it's like Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry. I love these. I just don't want to spend $60 on them, but they're very cool.
There's been a proliferation of tiki mugs at Comic-Con. I think they're taking over.
They're everywhere, yeah. All right. I wanted to mention real quick in the chat, Mike Nelson said FX limited the amount of free water you could take from their offsite last year, too. So a sip of water is on trend.
We're trendy.
That's right. That's right.
Was that all of the Entertainment Earth? Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
Pinmates or anything like that?
I mentioned them.
All right. Okay, so Gentle Giant is up next, and they have started announcing their exclusives. And we have this last week they announced the let's see, what is it called? It's a Gwenpool animated statue. It's based on Scotty Young's drawings, and it will be $64.99. It's inspired by the Unbelievable Gwenpool #1 comic. And then we also have the Star Trek Discovery Saru. Is that how you say his name? It's a mini bust. And that will be $100. So you can order these online if you're a Premier Guild member, or you can get them at the booth.
Factory Entertainment announced a couple more of their exclusives. We have a Jurassic Park Fossil Raptor Claw metal bottle opener for $15. And this is actually pretty awesome. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a raptor claw that you can use as a bottle opener. They also announced a couple of IT exclusives, including a truly terrifying clown that moves. It's a Pennywise Premium Motion statue, and I loved this. The balloons are a blood red colored set that you'll find nowhere else. Wow.
Lovely.
Just wow. Yeah. So he is $149.99. They also have a more budget-friendly SS George blood spattered diecast boat. It's 3.5 inches tall. It's heavy metal diecast. It's only $10. And just like with all of their exclusives, any of those you can either pre-order to have it shipped to you after the convention, or you can actually pre-order it to pick up at the convention at their special pickup window this year.
All right, and then Monogram announced a couple more exclusives. The Street Fighter 3D foam magnets 4-piece set, which will be limited to 300 pieces and will be $20. And the Lilo and Stitch 4-piece 3D foam magnet set, also limited to $320.
Yep. Alex Ross started announcing his exclusives as well, starting with an Origin Superman fine art matted print. It is 14.5 inches by 15.5 inches lithograph. It basically depicts like Superman throughout the years and his journey to who he becomes. And it's only $50, which for Alex Ross is a really good price. But yeah, you can get that at the convention.
And then CineQuest started announcing their exclusives. Looks like we have a Supernatural Castile 3D foam keychain, the black winged variant. He'll be around 3 inches and will be $10 plus shipping if you'd like to have it shipped, or $9.99 when you pick it up at the convention. And there will also be Supernatural 17-inch stand-up 3-pack. So you can take home Sam, Dean, and Castile. The set is available for $19.99 with convention pickup, or $20 plus shipping if you want it shipped to your home.
And I think that does it for our exclusives news. As always, though, we have a ton more stuff on the site, so make sure that you check that out. And our site has a little bit of a revamped look for 2018. So hopefully you guys like the new site. If anything's not working for you, please let us know, because we're trying to do this in the middle of Comic-Con news season, which was not a great decision. That's okay. Jonathan said, let's start a petition to get Conan to bring back Bingo. Then we'll be set. Anytime Conan wants to bring Bingo back, I think pretty much everyone would be okay with that.
Especially those of us who never got to see it or know about it before it went away and want to experience it.
Well, we didn't know it was going to be like the greatest offsite of all time. But that's because we're dumb. So, yes.
Speak for yourself.
All right. Reza19 just asked, when does Hasbro typically announce? They've actually already started. We've gotten a couple of Hasbro exclusives, or maybe just one.
Just the
we
one.
Had that.
Star Wars.
Yeah. That Dr. Aphra thing. Yeah.
And they'll announce like 2 in one day and then not announce anything for 2 weeks. So they're very right.
They can do what they want.
I didn't remember to put this one in the forum, but someone asked about Mattel and if we can expect them to be doing like online ordering or anything, or maybe Hasbro may be following suit. But we don't know anything about Mattel, especially with them basically getting rid of the Maddie Collector Club.
Well, they came last year when they didn't have the Maddie Collector Club, and I know that they are bringing exclusives this year, and they keep just telling me that they'll be announcing soon. Our favorite word. But I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if there will be online sales again this year. Didn't they piss everyone off again?
Yes.
Because they I think that they offered pre-sales for shipping, but not pickup or something. I don't remember what the drama was, but I know that they made a lot of people angry again.
Yeah.
Happens every year. Mike Nelson asked, do you think Toys R Us will have an exclusive since they probably started producing before the bankruptcy? I do not follow the Toys R Us exclusives in general enough to know, but I did hear that some Funko set that they had planned, not necessarily for Comic-Con, got scrapped because of them going bankrupt. So I would guess there's a very real possibility they won't have anything, even if they did start. I also wouldn't be totally shocked if they showed up. So I don't know is the real answer to that. Terry Hofflin asked, how do I become a premium member for Gentle Giant exclusives? If you don't know, with Gentle Giant exclusives, you can become a Premier Guild member and purchase them before the convention, which is awesome. And basically, you just have to go sign up for their subscription, and it does cost money, but you get a couple of things with it.
Yeah, you get a gift. Depending on the level you pick, you can get like 1 or 2 gifts plus like a little bonus or something. So there is stuff.
Yeah. Name Vaco 1 said, I thought Super 7 would take over for Maddie Collector. So they did. But what you also have to remember is they basically got the name Maddie Collector and they got the website, but they didn't they don't get to sell Mattel's lines. It's all very complicated, but basically it wasn't as good of a deal as whatever you would have thought.
The branding thing has a product line or a product release.
Yeah. That's basically exactly it. Yeah. All right.
Any fun Germain wants to know if any Funko Fun Days waitlist news. Did we hear some people have been getting in?
Yes.
On the waitlist?
Yes. I did actually hear that a couple people have in fact made it in off of the waitlist. So as always, just keep an eye out for those. Those can come in at any time, even like a week before the convention. People do actually make it in every year, so you can keep the hope alive. And speaking of Funko, I also wanted to mention that they will not start announcing their exclusives until after E3, which ends on June 14th. So we won't be getting any Funko exclusives reveals this week.
So Stephanie asked, so if things are pretty consistent through the years, what is next? And she has everything?
I mean, pretty much. Like, we have so many exclusives yet to come. Hasbro has to announce all their stuff. Mattel has to announce all their stuff. I would expect the panel announcements, what is today, to probably start coming in probably around like late next week is when I would probably expect to start seeing like the WBTV announcements. I mean, there's so many parties that get announced around this time. I'm expecting news.
Comic-Con starting their daily Toucan blog tips, which will include at a certain point things like the wristband policy, if they have a wristband policy for Hall H, but basically their Hall H policy. And I'm assuming the exclusives portal will open during that time frame if they make it like an official tips post or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you can expect those things to show up.
Yep, all of that's going to happen. So many party stuff. I would expect like Nerd Night to be announced any day now. I'm waiting on Fandom any day now. There's so much stuff.
And don't forget with the new theming of the Petco Interactive Zone that we're probably going to start getting more announcements for that, like the Ghostbusters one that was announced a few days ago.
Yeah. So we will see. But yeah, no, there's so much stuff that gets announced. And like I said, they cram so much information, especially into like the last 3 weeks before the convention. So everything coming up next is actually correct. Yeah. All right. We have our attendee of the week every Friday on our site. If you would like to be featured, you can find information about how to apply on our website. That link will also be in the show notes.
And if you or someone you know still needs badges to San Diego Comic-Con this year, all hope is not lost. Be sure to check out the contest hub on our site for contests, for badges, parties, and more.
Parking went on sale on June 4th to the general public. I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but I believe most, if not everything, except like the convention center and the Bayfront is still available. So if you need parking, that's absolutely an option. And don't forget about our Under the Tents column as well, which is full of all kinds of awesome little tidbits of news, like artists that are coming, doing commissions, prints. We post offsites there if we don't have enough information to add them to our calendar, et cetera, et cetera. We have a couple. Go ahead.
It's basically daily.
Yes. All right. We had a couple more questions in the chat. Are we expecting a panel for DC Universe streaming service? I am. And in fact, one of the actors from, was it Titans? One of their shows said that he was going to be at the convention, which is, again, usually a good sign that they will be doing something. But I feel like they'd be silly not to like utilize the convention to push that, especially since it's going to be like such a new thing. If you don't know, basically DC is going to launch their own online streaming service with a couple of new shows, including like Swamp Thing and some other stuff. Raisin19 asked, Adult Swim on the Green. Yes, that is for sure back. And I was told that it will be in the same place that it was last year, which is back behind the convention, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, it's moved a couple years. I'm like, wherever that stupid meatwad dome thing is.
I was laughing at the latest question in the chat.
Yeah, so so Lister of Smeg and said, and just to piss off Carrie, when will badges be shipped? So guys,
now for you, never.
I don't control Comic-Con. Trust me, I have no control. I have a lot of patience. I answer questions on Twitter all day, every day for you guys. I don't mind doing it, but I have never been asked a question as much as I have been asked, when are badges shipping this year? And I'm just like, I get like 10 a day, sometimes more. And I'm just like, what in the world? Like, we're not even that close to the convention, guys. It's still like 5 weeks away. Chill out. And not just that, but they send you a tracking thing when your badge ships. So do you know how you'll know when your badge ships? When you get an email that says your badge shipped. And just to like stop all other questions, not that that's ever going to happen, badges ship out in batches. So just because your friend in a week or so gets an email that says their badge shipped does not mean that your badge will ship at the same time. And they mail from New York. So even though the return address says San Diego, that's not actually where they mail from. So if you're in SoCal and you're like, but my badge is in New York, ha ha ha, you're not funny. So, or clever.
Also, we don't know if they're shipping them in boxes again with little pins. They may ship pins again, but we don't know.
They did say last year though that they really liked the pens and they hope to continue doing that. So I think there's a strong odds that we will at least have a pen. I don't know about the box.
Mike Nelson asked, Carrie, will Gerard Way be there this year, or will they ship him with the badges?
You know what? The Gerard Way questions, though, I don't care. That's Lisa's thing. I would very much bet that Gerard Way will be there. I mean, he's got that Young Animals imprint. His Umbrella Academy has been filming for a while. I would very much think that he would be there. So there's a real answer to your question, Mike.
Yeah, so there.
Yeah, there you go. And Jermaine said, pin that tweet response so it's at the top. I did actually yesterday, and then like this morning I woke up to like 5 more questions about it, and I was like, it's not even worth it. So I unpinned it. So I just give up.
Okay.
At this point, like I truly think Comic-Con International is like, should we nail badges yet? Maybe if we don't, she'll like actually go insane and quit. How long could we hold out?
Forever.
Forever. All right. Joke's on you, Comic-Con. I was never sane to begin with. All right. Let's see here. Prize Mule will also be returning this year, and I have a good number of people lined up now. I think probably about like 12 or 15. So we will probably announce that sometime next week. I just need a couple more hours in a day.
Oh,
yeah.
Do we still have the shirts poll up on Twitter?
No.
Or we took it down?
No.
All right. You're out of luck, people. We were giving away. No, just giving away. Okay, so that is it. We will get to any other questions. Ask us on Twitter for anything that you may want to know, and any questions you have for the movies. If you want to ask Germain, as he mentioned when he was on, go ahead and tweet him.
But your question better not be when batches are shipping.
Yeah, try to avoid asking that one. Maybe
Please.
Google it first, or just go look at our feed and see that we've answered it. Right?
So many times. So many times.
Okay, so join us live every Tuesday until Comic-Con for the SDConCast. We'll be bringing you all the news, views, and special guests leading up to SDCC 2018.
You can also sign up for a newsletter, and we were going to send one out this last weekend until we were like, oh, let's redo the site. So it may happen this weekend.
In closing, thank you for joining us and for not asking us when badges are shipping. And,
what are you talking about? There's like 30 of those questions now in the chat. You guys suck.
They think
you guys. I know they're awful. I just need to like stop complaining about it, and then maybe it will all stop.
Go away, Magic, go away. All right, Terry, where can we find more of your work on the internet, answering questions about badges?
You can find me at Carrie Dixon on Twitter, though this time of year I'm like never logged into it. You can also find me on Twitter at SD_comic_con, answering all the badge shipping questions, all of them.
There you go.
James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me at Dan Regal all across the internet. And you can also check out geekshotphoto.com for photography links from my wife and I. And also, speaking of my wife, thank you to Beth, our producer, for putting together the slides, editing the show, and all the other little things that get this podcast done.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening, and everybody, go. We do actually need stinking badges.